Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? Yes. Saturday morning, I know. Time to wake up. Let's get excited. It's already like 9:30. You can see the rhetorical question on the board. Can we quit? It kind of gets your mind thinking about some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about. But I have kind of a more serious question that many of you may have thought about, actually. But do you think that drug addicts want to quit? Sorry. So you can read the Mark Twain quote, "Giving up smoking is the easiest thing in the world. I know because I've done it thousands of times." Kind of showing the classic idea of addiction that a lot of people have, right? You get addicted to something and you think, okay, I'm rational, I can control my body. I can say no and stop when I want to, and then you start again, and then again, and again, until you reach 1,000 times. That's respectable, respect. But I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the obvious addictive things like drugs, alcohol, smoking, but also some of the more uncertain things that people can get addicted to. As you can see here, people can be addicted to food. Have you ever been eating so much you want to stop, you never do, something that is always holding your mind that you constantly want to eat? TV, hours of your day get sucked out. And for high school students, I feel like the internet sucks days of our lives out. And smoking and that kind of thing. But it doesn't have to be that way, you know? And I want you, and you to be above that. I want you to be in control of yourself. And I want you to be able to quit when you actually want to. Addiction is a very scary disease. And yes, it is just that, a disease. A lot of people don't really care much about the specifics, but you as well as I know that as soon as you understand something, you have a much better chance of overcoming it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about addiction to you guys. So it really works in this brain reward circuit. You see that red line along? So the prefrontal cortex, right up in the front of the brain, is where a lot of your judgment making, decision making, all the rational thought really happens, all the way down to the nucleus accumbens, VTA, striatum, just some places in the brain that scientists have found regulate what's called the brain reward system, an addiction. So say that you get addicted to something. You have food that really makes you happy. Or we can use the obvious example of, say, cocaine. You get addicted to cocaine. It works in this exact circuit. And nature is absolutely ingenious in what they did here. So when earlier, let's say we were cavemen, or back when survival was a huge problem, cavemen people would be addicted to things like food, or to fighting, or to love, any of these things that would help pass on their genes, ensure their survival. So nature made sure you got addicted to things that would keep you alive, keep your genes going. Now, we live in luxury. We have a sedentary lifestyle, so all of the stuff that we need, you still can get addicted to it, but now there's no limit placed on that. There's no fight to obtain what you are addicted to, in the sense. Not talking, obviously, about cocaine and other obvious sources of addiction. This is more of that subtle addiction that many of us actually have. Addiction to food, even routines. You can be addicted to routines. And so this is actually very, very scary because addiction not only affects that brain reward circuit, but if you think about it, your decision making and judgment. We'll get back to that in a second. There we go. On the left here is what's called a synapse, and that's how neurons in your brain talk to each other. So when you have a thought, an electric signal is sent through your brain, and it flashes through your brain through all these different axons. This is a chemical signal. What happens is the upper thing, what's called the axon, releases that dopamine, and it comes across the dopamine receptors. And dopamine is a neurotransmitter which regulates sleep, cognition, among other things. But for us, it is involved in the brain reward circuit, which is namely a lot of pleasure, that feeling of satisfaction you get from satiating your addiction. On the right here, we have that same situation, but we have cocaine introduced. And you can see right in here, the cocaine actually comes and blocks dopamine regulators, which means you have this flood of dopamine that enters into that thing. And that directly translates to what's called the high, what people call their high. That kind of feeling because you have this excess amount of dopamine floating around. But imagine this, as soon as you stop the cocaine, what happens? It's gone. You have regulators again, and you have a smaller amount of dopamine. And you know, as well as I do, there's a cool little saying that you can never unsee what you've seen. Same thing here. Once you experience that high, it's not like it never happened. Your body has experienced it, and it is now conditioned to achieve that. while we're talking about conditioning, we can go on there. You guys know what conditioning is. A lot of high school students, sports, conditioning your body, conditioning your mind through studying, all these kinds of things is what you do to make your body adapt to situations. Addiction is a form of conditioning that nature put in place. The scary thing here is that drugs are not the only thing that you can condition you, and obviously we just talked about how they're not the only thing you can get addicted to. So say, we'll use cocaine as a good example because it's a lovely drug. You have that example where cocaine, you get addicted to cocaine. It releases that excess amount of dopamine. Now you are hooked in a sense. And you have it again. And again, what happens? The body is an amazing thing. And what it does is actually start adapting to that extra flood of cocaine, that extra flood of dopamine. And then your body is now conditioned to receive that amount of dopamine. So now the addiction is twofold. Not only are you hooked on that feeling of high and pleasure, but your body needs that amount of dopamine, and it's easily accessible. So it's not as if you have to fight for it. This is a picture of two brains. It's a chart of metabolism. So basically that translates to activity, how much your brain is using its resources. You can see in the normal subject, it's active, happy, lively. Cocaine addict, not much I need to say. But the main thing I want you to see is that front area, that prefrontal cortex. I keep coming back to this because we've talked about how cocaine regulates that brain reward system, right? You get addicted to that joy that comes from that. But cocaine and other drugs also affect your rational thought, your judgment making. So not only are you addicted to the high that comes with it, but your rational thought is impaired. You have no control over what you actually want to do, which is why it's so hard to become unaddicted to things. And then there's this sentence down here, the environment more than the thing itself, that I just want you to kind of keep in the back of your mind, okay? We're going to talk about that right now. I realize I threw a whole bunch of stuff at you, so we're going to take a step back real quick. I'm going to give you a personal example. For me, I am conditioned to pizza and the Cowboys. I love pizza, and I love the Cowboys. So every Sunday night, my family has a little pizza night where we get together, we order pizza, we set up and get ready to watch the game. And if you have something that you love so much, you are going to understand what I'm about to say, where that build-up is so much better than the actual thing, right? So the pizza is okay, but the excitement of Sunday, the joy of getting all my things together, my family sits down all together, we turn on the TV, get some milk, crushed red peppers, it's so good. And then I lose track of everything else. And then I sit down, and I actually start watching the game, pizza's okay. It's That is actually nailing this idea of conditioning, and actually that sentence, the environment, because what has come out recently is that it's not the actual drug or the thing itself that you start getting addicted to, but the environment. People you saw those two brain examples, there was a similar study done of two chronic cocaine users, and one was placed in an environment where there was the environment of where they received cocaine. So this little drug dealing deal or whatever, however they get it. The other one was just given the cocaine in a normal sterile environment. The activity measured indicated that the environment is what caused the whole reaction in your brain reward circuit and prefrontal cortex. So yes, I know, mind-blowing. Thank you for the reaction, I agree. But what happens is, you are no longer addicted to the substance, or you are addicted to the substance, but to such an extent that it doesn't matter anymore because you're addicted to the environment. You're addicted to how you get it. You're addicted to what surrounds the TV, the food, the soda, whatever it is, not just the drug. And TV, all these normal daily activities have a very, very similar effect, albeit a lot lighter. They don't have as much of a heavy-duty effect, but imagine this. You take a chronic cocaine addict will take cocaine every now and again, but we do those daily activities every day. Daily, right? So the idea here is that constant influx of that same stimulus, stimulating the same amount of prefrontal cortex, brain reward system thing in your brain, gets you addicted to that daily activity. And it's so much harder. Have you ever tried to break your routine or anything? And you notice that you just feel off-center, you kind of feel weird? That's because you are addicted to that routine. So the idea here, though, is actually really, really beneficial because if you get addicted to the environment, how easy is it to quit, right? just change the environment. So what I'm going to do is, instead of having pizza every Sunday night, last time we had Costa Vida. I don't know if you guys know that. It's a nice burrito place. And I'm going to mix up what I eat with the Cowboys game. Maybe not watch the Cowboys game every now and again. All you have to do is keep continually changing things, because in our new, luxurious, relaxed lifestyle, there's no need to be addicted to things. We have the ability to exert control over our own life. We don't need nature's input as much as we did before. So to answer the question, can we quit? Of course we can. Of course drug addicts want to quit, and of course you do too. You now have the knowledge to do it, so please do it. Thank you.